Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of webinars from the Recruiter's Arms. And this week I'm going to be talking about social selling. I thought I'd kick off with what we're going to talk about. I've broken it down to two simple kind of things. What is social selling, and how do you do social selling as a recruiter? Um, these are probably the two most asked questions that I get asked about social selling. What is it, and how do we do it? What is social selling? Well, it's content in context to what you do. As simplistic as that. And you could Google it, it'll say quite a few other things. But in a nutshell, it's just content in context to what you do. But also, the important part of it, which I'll talk about as well, is creating a zero moment of truth about you and your brand, and anything else that you want to create a moment of truth around, really. The best way to describe a moment of truth, which I'll talk about in a bit, is creating a sphere of influence around your company and attracting people into that sphere. So, content in context to what you do. So the typical examples are blogs, marketing materials, debates, comments you make on relevant subject matter. So not just comments you make on your own threads, but comments you make on other people's threads. And regularly send out and regularly update your content and regularly send out a core message to people on what that is. But importantly, it's engagement and engaging content as well. There is other content you could be making too. You could be controversial. You could hashtag everything with slogans. You can create webinars if you want to as well. There is so many methodologies to creating content for what you do. But these are the ones I'm just mentioning for the moment for kind of this is how to get yourself going. Is there good and bad content? Yes, there's good and bad content, and no, there isn't good and bad content. As the saying goes, any marketing is good marketing. Doesn't matter how negative it is. If you look at some of the biggest kind of pundits out there, like Katie Hopkins, for instance, and the negativity she creates, still gets her money, still creates a job, and that's her core thing. That she wants to make money. The best way to do it is be negative, and you see that with some thought leaders in this marketplace as well. So, what does good content look like? Well, engaging, thought provoking, educational, informative, development to your business advances it forward, factual, entertaining, and creates a following. That's the important part, by the way, creates a following. All that, all the way down to create a following, is pretty much everything that you can do to create that following. But you'll start learning what it is you need to be saying to create a following. So the last one is very difficult to do. Negative content, well, it's up to you how you kind of perceive this. Controversial, negative. It's all about me, me. What you see with a lot of thought leaders is that they will talk about a subject matter. They'll never talk about themselves. They're just the front of that subject matter. The ones which are negative and the ones that talk about themselves all the time, and companies that talk about themselves, are portraying really a negative content. Bad information, non-factual information gets fought out very quickly, and then negativity. So always saying something negative about some sector, person, group of people, whatever that might be. However, and I've said this before, negative content seems to create more likes, views, and shares. Um, there's a natural affinity within the human body to follow things negatively. But what you got to try to do is create a positive vibe around what you're trying to do and try not to be negative. That's just my personal opinion. So, importantly, I was just saying, is to create negative content will be detrimental to your cause. Very few of us can do negative content to our advantage. Just remember that. So if you are able to create negative content to your advantage, then great. But I'd stay clear of it. I'd absolutely stay clear of it. So I mentioned zero moment of truth. So what is the zero moment of truth? Um, whatever you do from day to day, the zero moment of truth is basically influencing you. So what is that? Normally, whenever I want to buy TV, and I'll Google TVs and see what's the latest gadget out there. that I can use. I'll even watch things like Gadget Show or YouTube reviews and stuff like that just to create a sense of knowledge for me about that TV. But some of them, they'll go through the product and it'll work with me what I want to buy. So then I'll go and find that product and buy it. Um, what other things that you can look at as well, and what you're influenced by, is not just that, but what review sites say, independent critics, and you watch Top Gear magazine, or watch Top Gear or something like that, and they see a car on there and they talk about it and it looks great. So that's creating a zero moment of truth. You are almost handing over money when you like that thing, but you've done your research and you've not spoken to one salesperson. But there's other influences as well, which is social media. Probably now the biggest influencer in the zero moment of truth is social media, because it's live, it's moving, and it's informative. Well, it should be informative. So you hear what people are saying, especially in the comment section as well, about that person, product, or business. What people write about it as well. You get some blogs written about companies, or blogs written about, especially in our industry, um, blogs written about people that are doing well or people not doing well, but also what people are doing at the same time. So also then you'll see blogs or content written, they'll get lots of likes, lots of shares, lots of reviews. So it'll draw you in. Videos, that's another form. So it'll draw you in. And these all create a following. And when you create that following, this is what I'm saying, the important part of social selling is that following is what buys your product or what buys your services. Or in our case as recruiters, who applies for your jobs or who comes to you asking you to find certain candidates. So why is this important to know? Well, simplistically put, the good old sales funnel is something that we all know and love and been taught in our kind of recruitment world. And we're being compared to salespeople in recruitment. Social selling, the word selling isn't really selling anything. The word selling is really portraying information across and demonstrating capability. If that's selling, great. Then we're doing exactly what it says. Good old fashioned selling, which is gathering leads and qualifying leads and creating a customer and then selling to that customer, and then we'll make money. And the good old sales funnel, obviously there's methodologies of creating those leads and creating prospects and selling to people, spin selling and needs based and all them type of things. And this is what we've been taught for years. And one of the greatest problems with social media is that we've been going into social media with these techniques and with these abilities, and it's not working. So then people back away from social media and say, well, that didn't work. Social selling is a load of shit because they're selling it wrong. And what they should be looking at is what zero moment truth sales funnel looks like. So what you need to do is create awareness, who you are, what you do, create familiarity. So that comes down to a lot of information you need to put out there. That's engaging, that's educational, that's content that will bring people to you and learn more about you. Um, what will then happen is people start considering you. Now, there's a great one at the moment, and I hope the guys at Firefish don't mind me saying. I don't use Firefish, but when I am going to go and get a new database soon, I'm going to go straight to them guys, because one of their fantastic guys who's done some blogs for us lately, called Cameron, um, webinars for us lately, called Cameron, has actually caught my attention of the way he social sells. He puts relevant information out there. He creates a following. He's engaging. He's complementary to what you do. So he is understanding that social selling isn't selling. It's creating an environment that people will be familiar with, have awareness of their brand. So what that's done to me, it's given me consideration. And suddenly, when I know I've got the budget to jump on his, or basically get out the contract I'm in, to jump on his database, then I'll go and purchase. So I'm down the funnel of the zero moment, the truth. If I go back one, I can't go back one for some reason. But if I was in the old sales funnel, I could walk away at any time because there was a pressure at that moment or leads get lost. So what you're doing is not creating a pressure, but you're creating an awareness of who you are. And once they purchase, they become loyal. And because you're not sending them back to the start of the sales funnel, you then treat them as a different kind of customer, a unique person to them. That loyalty is the key, and that's where you get your repeat business from. So, how to sell or how to social sell as a recruiter? How do you create a zero moment of truth about you and your brand? I'll talk about that in a second. And as a business, how do you engage your core audience? I've purposely said you and your brand because you in social selling is you, and you could be the content as well as the person influencing the zero moment of truth around you. But your brand is the platform of which you sell from, and that's pretty much the two separate entities. You in essence, is a personal brand, and the company you work with is a social brand. I see Cameron as works for Firefish, but I also see him as an individual himself, as a personal brand that I know is engaging and can bring a lot of information and a lot of debate to the question. So, as a business, how do you engage as a core audience as well? So, I'll talk about those two things. So, you've got to start with the why. This is a complicated one because if you look at or read about Simon Sinek Start with a Why, this is pretty much where a lot of recruitment agencies fail because their why is normally pound signs. I'm doing this to make money. Really, your why should be something that is a tangible thing that people can listen and believe in. Because when it comes to social selling, if your belief is pound signs, you're not going to do very well. What your belief needs to be is something that can um, create a following, basically. Uh, so why? It's because you're great at good advice, you're great at blogs, or you're a brilliant recruiter. There's so many things we could think about, so many things we could talk about. But finding your why, what is the message that you're trying to represent? It's got to be a truthful message because if it's not truthful, again, that will be found out. So once you've found out what that core message is, then you can create your content around that and drive that forward as your social media kind of strategy. Excuse me. So focus on the specific message. Um, the key is demonstrate capability. So if you've got testimonials or if you've got proof or there's a video of you building something, if you're building something, we see a lot of content marketing out there now that is based upon this is me, this is what I do, but then that missing element is this is how I did it, and this is the result of it. So we've got to build around that, but the core message is how you do it. Are you doing it honestly, or why are you doing it? I love recruitment because, and then that's your kind of core message, and build around that core message, and then you start creating a following. People start believing in you and start listening to what you're doing. But the genuinity of it is important. So you've got to be genuine. You've got to be genuine. As a business, I'm as a business, I think it's a little bit difficult, but I'm not a fan of the self-loving posts where you see people posting bottles of champagne saying, "I just won the top salesperson," and that's great if you want to create a sphere of influence to people that want to come and work for you. That's not social selling your business as a brand. So celebrating people within your business by achieving certain projects or filling all the jobs at a company, that's probably a good way of doing it. But also putting out there a message, who you are, what you do, and what you believe in. What are your clear values? Um, don't have vision statements of trying to be the number one recruitment agency because that doesn't help people. What that tells me is that you're not playing a wider game, a bigger game. What you're trying to be is chasing the pound sign by doing that. What you need to be showing is that you have a sphere of influence around you. So think about that message. What does it look like? If look, there's nothing wrong with look at us celebrating kind of posts. However, if you're going to do that, then you're only attracting one type of person to your company. Think about that and what that person looks like. I would look at attracting more than just one person companies need to be tracking in recruitment, clients, candidates, and future employees. So think of it about that way. So what does a following do? This is I keep mentioning through this the power of a following. The power of a following creates awareness, familiarity, and consideration. So remember the zero moment of truth sales funnel. Um, Awareness, familiarity, consideration. The last part of that is purchase and loyalty. Purchase is a financial transaction, as we all know, but not always in recruitment. Purchase for us could be that the candidate sends their CV. So going through awareness and familiarity is probably the hardest part that we have to do. The consideration, the convincer, is really how good your content was. And then the purchase is them sending you a CV saying, can you help me? Or I want to apply for that job. And it's the candidate that no one else has got in the marketplace. And as a lot of thought leaders say, that's the thing that gives us placements, doesn't it? Yeah, I know. But loyalty is the key here as well, and loyalty for candidates to keep coming back to you into the future, especially if you do temp, not so much with permanent, but loyalty. But they understand you, and that loyalty then feeds out to other candidates, and they'll speak to their friends and say, "Hey, come on, check out these guys. They're brilliant. They've got some great content, and I've sent my CV a couple of times, and they've got me some great interviews, and I got a job with them." Also with clients, you filled their job, and it was a great experience because they followed, they were aware of you, familiar with you. The consideration and purchase was utilizing you, and then the loyalty, repeat business, hopefully. So that's kind of where you need to kind of get everyone into the sales funnel. If you remember the old sales funnel, there was a lot of faffing, wasn't it? A lot of kind of quantifying leads and developing leads and focusing. That's a different type of sales. That's probably the other side of your business where you'll be doing a lot of cold calling and all that lot of stuff. That's not the same as this side of the business, the social selling side of it. And who knows, you might find that most of your business comes from this side of it. You never know. But it's nice to have appreciation of both. So what to do next? For the people which are already in this, I guess you're probably looking at your social presence at this moment in time and thinking, how can I make it better? My advice to you, first of all, is start up in your game. Start learning what other people are doing. Read more, understand new theories and thoughts, and always adapting. So you're basically expanding your knowledge of the world around you, or mostly in your sector, or however you want to do it. But also expand your knowledge on how people engage with you as well. I wrote a blog once, and it was a crazy blog just about what the future recruitment looks like in 2100. And it had over like 4,000 likes. It was crazy, absolutely crazy, and it had 20,000 views or something like that. And I wrote it as a whim, and then I wrote another blog which I thought was really important and only got like one like. So I had to adapt and understand what people really want to read. And from my perspective, what I found is a lot of people want to read things which are interesting, engaging, and entertaining, but also expand their knowledge at the same time. So think about those things because that's what we're reading, if you get what I'm saying, and that's what we're enjoying. Best advice also is pick a social media channel and master it. I picked LinkedIn as probably my focus because of business. I've got Facebook, I've got a bit of Instagram, and I've got Twitter just twiddling away in the background off the back of what I do on LinkedIn. I find that if you focus on one thing and one thing only, you do well. You need to find your sector. If you're doing banking, for instance, then yeah, maybe LinkedIn is probably a better location to go. But if you're doing industrial temps, then maybe Facebook is probably the better place to go. Or you might know somewhere better than I do. So yeah, that's one thing. Pick a social media channel and master it. And consistency is the focus. So don't. This is another thing that I try getting through to some companies I've worked for, especially companies I've spoken to and people I've spoken to. Posting a blog 1 month and then posting bugger all for 6 months, not even one bit of social media content, is not social media content. That is just posting a blog once. You need to be consistent. So if you want to get into blogging, be consistent, get into blogging. If you like to have your updates with quips and information and links to your website or whatever you need to do, then do that. Do that. Focus on something that works and works well for you. We all don't have to blog. It's not necessary, but it's something you should consider. So takeaways of social selling is be positive, um, find your why. What is it? Focus on the core audience, so pick a social media channel, but also focus on the core message you're conveying and build your content around that core message. That's where you're going to get those followings from. So thank you for listening. Um, do you have any questions? Thank you.